Fancy meeting you here. Sorry. Oh god, sometimes I don't know why I say the things I do. I do apologise for that. Oh dear, not the most professional of starts. So basically what I was going to say was that I've been exploring various parts of the map and coming across new islands, building outposts on them, and this is basically just a review of some of the outposts I've built. There's no particular logic to any of the outposts. I'm not following a definite template. I just get to a new place, I build something, I generally try and make it slightly different, and each of them, the outposts that I build, there's something unique about them. You might notice the dark wood windows. That's deliberate to try and stop bats getting in. As you can see with this one, I decided to use stone to build up effectively a natural fortress, although it's more like a motte, I suppose, because this area of meadow is very close to loads of plains, so you can see just on the hill there. So this is one area, and it's basically sort of in the middle of the map, roughly, to the west of my main base. As you can see here, this little island. Slightly further north from here, or from the previous base, I did a little bit more exploring, and I decided to build this little thing, and for some reason I decided to dig out effectively a hole and build a little shack sort of in the hole itself, which is what I did, and then added the little staircase. Again, it's an island, like most of these, that has an area of meadow and then plains just over the hill. Nothing special about it, just a variation. So this area, because my base is facing to the east, I decided that I would build something that could act as a sort of starting point for voyages on the west hand side of the main landmass that my base is on. So this is what this is. It's a little island that I found, and I deliberately built it on an island so that I wouldn't be attacked by raids, and I decided to call it Moon Isle, just because when I was building it there was a very clear sort of view of the moon. And as you can see, I've done a fair amount of exploring to the north and to the west of that base, but this is sort of like a western island. And this one slightly further north, probably about the furthest north I've explored. I found a little plains island, so I thought, well, that might be useful for a nice little base. As you can see, there's actually two islands close to each other, both plains. And I decided to build this up and around onto the huge central rock. It does jut out quite a lot, and I had to use iron reinforcements for that to keep it stable. But as you can see, it's a sort of decent size. I even put a little farm in here with barley. To the west of this particular island, I started encountering mistlands, so I basically stopped exploring any further than that. If you're not aware, the developers have basically said that when they add new content, because of the way the maps are procedurally generated, or the content within an area is procedurally generated, the new content will only be applied from that point onwards, so therefore to unexplored areas. Now, this was based upon a video I saw of someone building effectively a little fort. So it's a stone square structure, and then the insides they've basically split into four. You have the crafting area off to the right there, you have the building to the left, and then they've built a little farm that you can see me going into here for animals, and a little garden area for plants over on the other side. So I quite like the idea, and I thought I'd try it out and build it here. The place I've actually built it is an area that's surrounded by plains, and it's just below where Moda is encountered. I do have a portal sort of closer to the Moda shrine, but this area is basically sort of when I first encountered it, I built a little hut which is just down that path that you can see. So I thought it would be quite a useful place, having explored a little bit further, found an area of meadows, to actually use that to build this fortress. Or not fortress, just a fort. And as you can see there on the map, just over the other side of that river is where Moda is. Still a few areas around there that I haven't explored. Built the portal in there. This is actually my original base, what I called old base, and I hadn't really been using it for anything, so I decided to try and find some other function for it. This particular structure here was a little shack that was built by Ember when I first built the base, and I've left it intact, but apart from that and the main residence, which is this big stone building you see to my right, I broke down everything else that was here and then built a couple of new structures. I used to have a garden over here, and what used to be where these portals are was a workshop and kitchen area. That's the tower. Over here where I've built a new workshop, just a very basic one, and a storage area. That used to be the original portal hub that I had. But basically the main function I had for this base, rather than just have it sat there not doing anything and leaving everything intact, is I thought I'd rebuild a new portal hub here, but this is specifically for the bosses. So as you can see here, I've got one going to Eikthyr or Ekithump, and then so on round to Yagluth, and I've got another 3 here for any future bosses. Hopefully that will be enough. I do have a trophy there for Eikthyr because I went and defeated him to get that. I've got trophies for the other bosses, but they're actually on the shared Hussars server, so I don't have access to them at the moment, but at some point I'll probably bring them back and then put them above the door, above the portals. So that was the idea here. So this is actually the second seed world that I created. This one I created specifically for somewhere that when new content is added, because I haven't explored it really that much, this can be, if necessary, the place that I use to go and do that rather than creating a new world. So this isn't too far from where you first spawn on the world. I basically found a nice clearing with a good view down to the sea, and then decided to build a little sort of recessed and fairly hidden base in amongst the trees. That's what this is. And then I decided to sort of try and create a bigger, like a test base area that could potentially become a village. But I didn't want to do that here because I didn't want to ruin the view, because I really like that view. So this is what this is. This is actually something I created some time ago, and I've shown it in other videos because when I created my prototype sort of cottage, I did that on my normal world and then created a better version of it, the more sort of finished version, on this sort of test area for no readily apparent reason. I have been digging around, as you can see here. One of the things I didn't like about this was the fact that it was split on 2 levels. If you flatten everything, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look like a nice sort of village. And even though I've dug back and flattened as far as I can, at some point you'll get to a point in the slope where you can't dig down any further to flatten it because of the natural sort of the rise of the rock underneath the slope. So I've got this on 2 levels. The only thing I built here was this cottage, and then I was experimenting with building a kitchen area and a storage area, and it may look familiar to you. The reason for that is because this was the prototype upon which I based my final design when I expanded the base on my normal world. So as you can see, again, you've got sort of like the raised platform for the actual crafting bits. You've got the 2 hearths, and then this area was supposed to be for storage. So it's the same basic design that I then subsequently went on to do. So in the last couple of weeks I've actually created a new seed world, which is this one, and as you can see from the map, I really have not explored anything on this at all. Just the immediate island, and because it leads out into a bay, I did a bit of sailing around the bay just to see if that led out to the open sea, but I haven't gone particularly far. I sailed around the bay and thought that's fine, whatever. But there was this lovely open area of meadows. So what I decided to do as a slight change to what I've done previously is not flatten the land so I can use it to build up other things. I thought I'll build two parts of this base. The main part is down below, as you can see. I've walled it off and built stone walls all the way around, but I haven't actually built anything up. The single wooden structure you can see down there was actually already there. I've just sort of repaired it. But the idea is here, rather than flattening the land, is I thought what I'd do is I'd leave it intact, and then if I wanted to build something, or any other players who joined the server wanted to build something, if they wanted to build something, they would just flatten the area around where they want to build, so the rest of it would be sort of natural sloping grassland and this sort of thing. And then you can have paths going, and that would look more naturalistic as a village setting. As you can see, sort of it's quite a large area, and obviously you've got some lovely oak trees at the end of it. But it's still potentially somewhere that I could expand out if necessary. I can't see why it would be necessary, but that's the idea. So you have a series of buildings. I haven't bothered building anything up because at the moment there's no point. It's just kind of like something that could be used in principle as and when. It may be that it never gets used, because it may be that when more content is added you need to regenerate a seed world, in which case obviously there's no point going any further with this one. But that was the idea, and I suspect that going forward that's what I'll do for future new worlds. I'll just leave it sort of as natural as possible and just build up the bits that I need to build up. So I said that I did this in two parts. So the first part is obviously the bit near the shore, and then the second part was, because it goes back up into the hills, I thought what I'd do is I'd flatten an area of land above this and build sort of like the actual main base building, or in this case it's a fort building, and it's exactly the same design as the fort that I showed you previously, with one exception. As you can see, I've built up a tower on one part of it, but apart from that it's exactly the same dimensions, it's the same basic layout. I have put a wooden palisade all the way around it, but that was just to give me relative peace and quiet while building up the rest of it inside. So as I said, you can see it's the same sort of layout. You've got the same building to the left, you've got the same crafting area to the right. The only difference is that I didn't think I needed to build a farm, because if I did build a farm that would be down in the main sort of area. So I left this area that was supposed to be the farm bit, left it cultivated in case I want to plant anything there. And the other quarter I basically decided to build a tower, simply because I thought that the height from the battlements wasn't sufficient, so I wanted something that would give me a very good view of everywhere around, including the hills behind. So as you can see there, onto the battlement, and it's got a lovely view of the other walled section and the bay. The only difference between this one and the one that I built on my normal map is that I used the dark wood tiling for the roof on this one. But apart from that, the layout is the same. I haven't actually built the other one. You had the portal around the side by the main sort of dwelling. I haven't built a portal here because I don't have anywhere to go. I haven't explored the map, but it would be to the side of the tower to the right in that little area somewhere. So I've just got steps going up, little doorway here onto the battlements, and then further going round to the top, you can see it gives you a very good view of the hill behind, and also of course the bay down to the bottom. So that's basically it. That's what I've been doing. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll speak to you next time I do any building in Valheim.